Hi there, Eduardo, CEO of Market8 here. I'm going to walk you through what we believe are the core concepts around how to build SaaS growth foundations for your company. So in this presentation, I'm going to walk you through three things. Number one is the differences that we see between successful and unsuccessful SaaS very often. Number two is the importance of solving a market need. And number three, how to build the foundations of long-term SaaS growth. So I'm going to illustrate first two stories around successful versus unsuccessful SaaS. It's a story of two founders. Number one, here's Ray. He's a smart tech entrepreneur who wants to grow his business, and he wants to do so really fast. He's enamored with this idea of breakneck speed road. And then Ralph on the other side is a smart tech entrepreneur also, but he wants to build his business the right way in a more sustainable manner. So Ray over here starts, with a great idea, and he goes off and starts building tech without really speaking to anybody. Or if he's speaking to anybody, it's like making a lot of mistakes around confirmation bias, going on with the idea and then asking if that idea is good or bad. So there's really no market need identified. He's running off with a preconceived idea. Rob on the other side is spending a lot of time in discovery. Like he's talking to people, he's identifying problems, he's interviewing them and getting a deep understanding of what they're trying to accomplish. So here's a success factor number one. He's validating that the problem exists to begin with before he goes off and builds any tech. So Ray here goes on and he has a great network. He raises money and doubles down on this process of building product and building an acquisition team. And he focuses on putting something out in the market with cool features, what he feels are cool features, and buys growth through paid ads. And well, evidently the team is completely focused on the wrong things. We still haven't validated what the problem was. Ralph on the other side validates this problem solution. His his team are even manually customer servicing some of those early um, leads and customers that he has, and he's like narrowing down and simplifying to come up with a very simple single use case to start really mastering, and then starts building product around that. So his success factor number two, right? His team focused is on solving the problem before building the product. Ray here has no organic growth. Customers are really failing to solve a problem with the product. They're not finding the product relevant. The competition is more relevant and wins every single time. So he's just demonstrating that the product doesn't have market fit. He doesn't have product market fit. Okay, he gets outcompeted every time. Ralph on the other side is building this early organic growth. He's small, it's not huge scale, yet he's building his product, he's growing organically. The people that are using the product are really starting to like it because he's really solving the problem that they have. So his success factor number three here is that he's creating value as the foundation of his growth. Bray here in stage four goes into a state of unsustainable metrics. Here you have high operating costs. I mean, he's buying a lot of demand out there. As a result, he's skyrocketing his cost of acquisition. Customers are not sticking around because they're not finding the product relevant. So the LTV is low. That's a pretty bad ratio, which leads to an unsustainable cash burn. And he's not really having the finger on the pulse of this spend, so he doesn't really know the metrics, and that's a key mistake. Ralph on the other side has really healthy core metrics. I mean, his organic growth feels healthy unit economics. Even at this low scale, you have a low CAC, a pretty efficient way of getting customers because word of mouth is becoming primary there, and customers are sticking around. So LTV, lifetime value, is sky high. So still burning cash, but with solid metrics, and he knows the numbers, right? He's adjust strategies accordingly, and he's listening to data to take decisions. So Ray here reaches the end of the road in stage 5 and runs out of money, consumes his runway. His startup is just toast at this point, and his just mistake here is, well, he's failing to realize that cash doesn't really guarantee success. On the other side, Ralph is reaching a point that he's really feeling comfortable with this, and it's time to accelerate. So his metrics are solid. He has 5-star reviews. He has proven traction. Races around with a lot of confidence to accelerate growth. And so he raises money with a completely different perspective of like doubling down on success. So here's, according to CB Insights, top reasons why startups fail. So as we saw in the story of Ray, no market need. 42%, a whopping 42% of startups fail because they did not solve a market need. That can only happen when you start building out tech or prioritizing roadmap based on assumptions that are not validated, or there's not a deep understanding of the customer problem. Your team is focused on the wrong things, like buying demand as opposed to building an awesome thing, an awesome product that solves a real problem. As a result, product's less relevant, gets outcompeted every single time. Lack of numeracy is a problem, and costs spiraling, running out of cash as a result of all that. Um, and failing to recognize that raising money doesn't mean success. So in the end, you need to master one thing. You need to master the process of solving a market need in your company. And how can you solve a market need and be less Ray? Well, let me give you hints, a few hints. You have this fact that there isn't really a single successful SaaS company that doesn't solve a problem that people care about. So you need to build products that users love so much they don't only use, but actively go out and recommend them. And so you have to create this strong market pull, because that's the only way you can prove that the market wants your product. Mention a few examples: Tesla, Netflix, and Google. All these guys reach exponential organic growth because they solve problems that the customer care about, even in the absence of awesome UI at the beginning. Especially Netflix, right? And Google, they were horrible. Um, so they never spent a dime on advertising before they knew and were absolutely sure that they had product market fit. So organic growth is really the only true indicator that your market needs your product. I mean, that's really the only way to know. Only when you have achieved this healthy organic growth, you can focus on accelerating. And so the only path forward is really to get this sustainable, aggressive organic growth first through virality and word of mouth. And that can only happen when you have a product that really solves a problem that the customers want solved. And so that's because you can simply cannot buy your way into unicorn status. And so how can we help you be less Ray and start building the foundations for long-term SaaS growth? Well, we do this in 5 steps, and this is what our process encompasses. Number 1, we're going to discover value. So we're going to find the right problem to solve for your customers. We're going to do this with you, interviewing and getting to know customers and asking a lot of questions about the particular problem that they're solving. Really, we're discovering what the problem is and how to even structure, verbalize it, and decompose it. So we define our value. So we'll identify how now you can solve that problem and maybe related problems, and make sure that you're meeting those needs around those problems and are very aware of the circumstances in which those problems occur. Number 3, you're going to design value. Here, you're creating or optimizing your product experience. Based on all the prior definitions you have done, you are designing a funnel, you're measuring it, tracking it, and starting to shed light on the funnel so that your actions and your tactics starts getting driven by the numbers and data, and you can really focus your team on the right things. On the delivery of market value, here you're delivering your value to your customers and building a scalable business model. You start with building growth experiments and implementing tactics that will deliver this growth value, and then you're developing business value. here is about further innovation and iteration on the core problems to get really double down on your ability to create a market differentiation. And you can only do that by really analyzing what the problem is and then what aspects of that problem you can further absorb and solve in a more convenient way with your tech. So that's the really five-step process. How we structure the program to work with you at the core, you have a SaaS consulting layer that will go through this process and always be setting the foundations of sustainable growth. We're identifying all these core things for your business. If you don't have not that identified already, we'll help you identify what problem is it that you're solving. Be very clear and make sure that your organization is aligned to that, and then solving for bottlenecks. Whatever the bottleneck of growth is, maybe in activation, it may be in retention, or it may be in acquisition. It's about growth and exploiting the bottlenecks. Then you have some optional execution engagements because what comes out of the growth consulting, we can go ahead and implement some of those things, or we can align with your team so that they can go ahead and implement it. But first comes the single focus item, identifying where is the bottleneck in the funnel, in your full funnel from acquisition all the way to activation, all the way to retention and renewal and recommendation even. Where is the bottleneck? What is the biggest single bottleneck for growth? And then really laser focus on that. And single focus item means like spending energy, effort on solving and alleviating that step in the process. Organic growth, I mean, there's going to be some consistent ongoing things that you're going to need to do to harness organic growth. It may be something related to SEO, it may be creating viral loops. If we can create this kind of network effects inside the product, there's some things that need to be done consistently for you to achieve organic growth. So single focus item is very project oriented, like blocking and tackling a bottleneck. Organic growth is consistent, ongoing things. SaaS growth consulting is really what is going to identify where to focus. And this way we can help you achieve this healthy and sustainable SaaS growth. There's some optional acceleration engagements such as paid growth, where really once we have the foundations, you can say, okay, now it's time to accelerate. And now it really makes sense to go and accelerate, identifying a particular set of platforms and advertising, the messaging of which can be derived from the SaaS growth consulting analysis and deep understanding of the problem you're solving. So here's a little bit more detail on what happens in each one of the stages. In discovering value, we're really discovering your jobs to be done domain. We need to identify who's the main job performer, what is the problem they're trying to solve, and then what is the emotional social job around that. Defining your value. Basically, we have here a goal-based persona and unmet needs, identifying really where are the gaps that are not being solved, which parts or aspects of the problem, either needs around the main job that the customer is hiring you for, are not being met, and then that will serve as the basis for prioritizing roadmap and making improvements to the product. Here's we start looking at competition, crafting a value proposition, and really understanding where the customer success gap is. We're designing value in the third stage. As I mentioned before, you're designing a funnel architecture, and shedding light on metrics, and then assigning accountability. So you have one single neck to choke for every single metric across the funnel, from acquisition, either it's traffic or people visiting the landing pages for trial sign up, or activation or renewal. We're going to assign exactly who is accountable for that. Make sure we have the tracking, if we have the right stack, and that we have goals to achieve. We can also start doing some growth hypothesis testing here, and making sure the team is aligned on that. Stage 4, delivering value to the market. Here it's all about execution and making sure that all those metrics are easily consumable through dashboards. We're starting to really test on different channels to identify which ones are more efficient and you can acquire at a lower cost. Lastly, in develop business value, we're continuing testing and efforts to scale and double dipping on expanding the span of the problems you're solving through further innovation on the product or messaging aspects. This process has achieved great results for many SaaS. Here's a few examples of companies that we have worked with delivering anywhere from 50% in organic growth, 2 times MRR growth, 629% increasing qualified leads, a third in new monthly customers, 77% in onboarded users, 230% increase in demos for Raven. So if you believe in, number one, a product first strategy, product is at the center of everything. Number two, you believe in solving products that matter for your customers. Number three, product market fit must come before scaling and pouring gasoline on the fire. Number four, you believe that making organic growth a priority is number one. And number five, you believe that growth comes from all stages of the funnel. It's not only about acquisition. It may be from all stages in the funnel, like activation or renewal. And your focus on growth must be driven by data. If you believe in these things, then we should talk. We have come together two firms that have extraordinary experience on helping SaaS companies scale, and we're combining our teams together. And we're very excited about this partnership. It's Inturact and Market 8, combined over 16 years of experience helping really hundreds of SaaS companies. So thank you, and look forward to speaking with you.